because, as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there's some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Yes, yes, yes. It's Raphael Dawkins with the Comeback Radio. Back again. And today we ask the question, the pertinent question that's been going around for the last couple of days since I had my debate with the fight doctor. The question has been, or his point was, that Mike Tyson's era was not for the duration of his career. That argument suggests that Mike Tyson's era was from 1986 to 1990. So the question that we're going to get into today is, what is an era? Okay, let me get into my screen. Yes. There was an oversight. We had a misunderstanding. I originally was going to start the show earlier. Then I revised it. And so there was a misunderstanding about the start time, but I'm glad to see that John Daly is in the house. Because obviously I need someone to chop it up with. Okay. And without much further ado, let's get rid of that. I'm going to put the link into the chat. So if anybody else wants to join on and put their 2 penneth worth in, then we can do that. We can do that. So the link is in the chat. Let me just write out the question so everybody knows. Everybody knows what we're talking about. What is an era in boxing? As an era in boxing, add that, show that, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, so where are we? Let's have a look. Let's have a look what we can put up on the screen, what we got to put up on the screen. Beautify. I don't know about beautify. I don't know if that's the correct term. Nothing suitable there. So I know exactly what I'll do. I know what I'll do. I got a brilliant idea. Okay, so where are we? Upload. I see you, John, with you right in a second. I was going to use this English slang term, but you never know what words mean abroad. So I'll stick to the official Queen's language. And let me get this image up now. Let's get that up and let's boom, boom, boom. Okay, as a matter of fact, maybe I should have had that as a background, because them things there, it can cause problems if you forget they're up. So let's also add this as a background and see how it works. So if I take that off and put this on show. So why doesn't it show? Boom. Boom. Okay. I'll have that as a background anyway. And have this as a foreground. Okay. We're in good shape. So, yes. The Boxing Jedi is up in the building. Good to see you, my buddy. Good to see you, my buddy. And who else we got? We We got John Daly up in the building. How are you, John?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Raphael.
Excellente. Just looking at these things here. Yeah. Sonny Liston and George Foreman. Those stripy tops were the thing back in the day. Scott 70 up in the building. Yeah, we're doing this for you, Scott. Doing this for you guys over there in the southern hemisphere, over there in the tropics. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Am I going to go with the warming video? Let me take a quick peek. I think it's advisable. A quick warming video, get the area nice and warm and populated. I haven't been doing many short ones recently. Let's have a look. I haven't been doing many short ones recently. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what's going on. Okay, might have to go with something totally unrelated. Hold on. Okay, this is a good one. This is a quick one. This is a nice quick one. 5-minute job.
Foreman.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so let's share this. And let's ease into the quick warm in video. Don't like that. Let's get that correct. As a matter of fact, I make no apologies, folks, that I like to experiment with this shizzle. And sometimes it's a live experiment. Like now. I'm going to do it a different way, do the same thing a different way. Yeah, welcome everybody in. And we are now looking at going to the warming video. Let me check on my device to make sure everything is as it should be. Take a look at this thing. Lower the volume on that. Okay, I can see it. It's up. People are coming in. I like that. I like that message from the Boxing Jedi. Put that up in a second. Okay, but in the meantime, let us do this. Let me see. Let us do this. Okay. Supposed to be sharing that over there. Kill the music. Boom.
Okay, former two-time heavyweight champion George Foreman revealed that he counseled Deontay Wilder in the aftermath of his technical knockout loss to Tyson Fury back in February at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Okay, so Wilder suffered his first career defeat and lost his WBC heavyweight crown when he was dropped multiple times and stopped in the 7th round after his corner threw in the towel. Mark Greeland, to be precise. Okay, so the first time around in December 2018, it was Fury who hit the deck twice, including a vicious knockdown in the 12th round. And the contest ended in a controversial 12-round split draw. Yeah, it was controversial. Okay, so Foreman explained that he suffered the same type of defeat when he was stopped by Muhammad Ali during Rumble in the Jungle, which saw Foreman lose his title and suffer his first career defeat. That took place in 1974. I had a nice conversation with Wilder, nice conversation with him. We talked because I was in a position where I lost unexpectedly in Africa. Only I know what he's going through, Foreman tells TMZ Sports. He's going to have to live with it, the Fury loss. But I can show him how to live with that and come back better. We talked a lot along those lines. Foreman believes Wilder, with the correct adjustments, can beat Fury and can win the trilogy fight in style. Not only can Wilder beat him, but he can do it easily, George added. Give him another chance. We'll show you, said Foreman. Okay, that's very, very interesting. Give him another chance and he can do it easily. But I think the key terms here, which we can't overlook, is a term with the correct adjustments. And so the question has to be, what are the adjustments that Deontay Wilder has to make in order to have him beat Tyson Fury? Boom. Let's come out to that and go back into this. Would it be beneficial for Deontay Wilder to step aside? I think this COVID-19 thing has been a blessing in disguise. It's been an absolute blessing in disguise for Wilder. I mean, they had a short turnaround, fought at the end of February 22nd, 5 months. He had 5 months to get ready for the trilogy fight after coming off such a battering. But now with the COVID-19 interference, I think, does that benefit Wilder? Does the COVID-19 pandemic interference benefit Wilder or hurt him? What does it do? I think it benefits him. On the one hand, it could benefit him. On the other hand, it could be more time to mull over the loss. I don't think so. I think it's more time to correct the things he knows he has to correct. He's got to strengthen those legs, but that's the least of his problems. He's got to know how to move his legs. He's got to get some happy feet. Deontay Wilder does not have happy feet. Crosses his legs over, he gets tangled up in his feet. He's got very poor coordination. Another schooling from Tyson. Yeah, I think he's going to get schooled again in the third fight. So I'm really questioning whether Deontay Wilder even takes the fight. Deontay Wilder has been in lockdown even before the COVID-19 struck. So he's been locked down for a while, and I am not convinced. I am not convinced that Deontay Wilder takes the trilogy fight straight away. I am not convinced, but it's going to be interesting because AJ took his rematch straight away. So I think there's pressure. There's pressure from over the pond for Deontay Wilder to do likewise. Ped up in the building, and I didn't know you were a Masvidal fan. So that's cool. How do you do? Okay. He's got to do the ring walk in a mankini. That is going to have to be the uniform for Wilder. If he wants to come out on top next time around, he's got to preserve those chicken legs we got here. What else we got here? Okay.
Okay. I should end it like that more often, just okay. Okay, so let's stop sharing. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so what's missing? It's the music. I like to hear the beats in the background. Okay, so let us commence. Where are we? John Daly is already up in the building. Yeah, much respect, the Boxing Jedi says. Much respect to Raf and his hard work, as well as his very credible and respectable followers from around the globe. Yeah, definitely. Much thank you to the Boxing Jedi. Okay. Where are we? No fundamentals. Definitely should work on that. So let me set the table. Where's the link? Did I put the link in the chat? Boom, boom, Okay, the notification has just gone out, so it's a good thing we played the warming video. Allow the YouTube to get the notification out. Let the people know that it's going down. It's going down. Where are we? Okay, so do I ask the question now? Do I ask the question now, or do I bring up the graphic? Do I bring up the graphic? Okay, so the question I had to ponder was, what's the definition? What's the definition of a boxer's era? So I had to do a search. I had to do some research to get the actual definition. Now, something I found here says some fighters mentioned fought in more than one era, so they can be placed in the era in which they did their best work. That's interesting and controversial. Interesting and controversial. So I'm going to read it again. Some fighters mentioned fought in more than one era, so you can place them in the era when they did their best work. So now that is up for interpretation and controversy. But let's go further. Let's go further in, and let me actually share this. And I was under pressure to click the I agree to something, which I don't know what I agreed to. But anyway, let me share this with you. Let's get that out the way. I'm assuming everybody can hear me well and good. We got BH up in the building. We got the Freddie Mars up in the building. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. It's like 3:38 p.m. over here in the UK. Okay, so let me share my screen. Share screen. Boom. Entire screen. Boom. Boom. Okay, let's make this bigger. Okay, that's a good size. Okay, so ranking the greatest eras of heavyweight boxing. Hope you can see that on your screen. Good. Okay, so legendary matchmaker Teddy Brenner once said, "There's heavyweight boxing, and then there is everything else." This was during the Ali era, and it was a valid statement at the time. Since then, we've seen plenty of non-heavyweight fighters lead, such as the Fabulous Four: Chavez, De La Hoya, Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, and Canelo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's more than 4, but anyway. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of the eras of heavyweight boxing. That's what we're talking about. We're addressing some statements made by the good doctor, the good fight doctor. You'll have heard about that. Done a couple of shows on that. Okay, so great fighters: Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton. Good fighters: Jerry Quarry, Jimmy Ellis, Ernie Terrell, Oscar Benovina, Ron Lyle, Joe Bugner, Jimmy Young. So we're talking about that era from 1964 to 1976. I heard a pop, don't know who it is. I'll get with you when I get back into that screen. 64 to 76. Great fighters: Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton. Good fighters: Jerry Quarry, Jimmy Ellis, Ernie Terrell, Oscar Benovina, Ron Lyle, Joe Bugner, and Jimmy Young. So that's that era, 64 to 76. Okay, 1988 to 2000. Great fighters: Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe. Good fighters: Michael Moorer, Tony Tucker, James Douglas, Donovan Razor Ruddock, Oliver McCall, Ray Mercer, Ike Ibuchia, Frank Bruno. So, and that's the pertinent point right there. We look at that era. We look at what is considered Mike Tyson's era. And we have it here from 1988. Could push that back to 86, I would imagine. 1988 to 2000. Okay, we're going further back in time there with the 1918 to 1930. Great fighters: Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney, Jack Sharkey, Harry Wills. Good fighters: Young Stribling, Charlie Weinert, Jim Maloney, Tufty Smith, Johnny Risco, Paulino, and that's difficult to pronounce, George Godfrey, Fred Fullerton, Chuck Wiggins. But you get the picture. You get the picture there. Okay, don't think I need to go on. Could go to 1930 to 1942. Great fighters: Joe Louis, Max Schmeling, Max Baer. Good fighters: Jim Braddock, Arturo Godoy, Primo Carnera, Bettina, Schaaf, Nova, Levinsky, Pasta, Nusso, Logren. Yeah, so we see the eras there. 1988 or 86 to 2000, Mike Tyson. Okay, so let's stop sharing and let's chop it up. Oh, damn. John Daly must have dropped out, but he's back now. Fear not. He's back now. Welcoming in Wizard Sleeve. Also in the building, John Daly.
Yes, Raph.
Yeah, I think I've already asked you how you're doing, hopefully, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raph never forgets his manners, don't worry.
Well, I try not to. To get a smack around the back of the neck from my mom if I forgot my manners. So it's like a reflex action now. Okay. So I think we're talking about a few things in and around recent statements, recent thoughts expressed. I think everybody saw the show yesterday, or the shows yesterday. Damn, put out 2 big live shows yesterday. The first show was kind of 2 shows in one because it was the debate from the night before, and then the dissection of that debate, which led to another debate with unbiased or biased. So damn, feels like I did 3 lives yesterday. But yeah, I think one of the starting points we're looking at is era. And the thought was put across. Anybody want to contradict this? I've left the link in the chat. It's right there. It's very prominent. So anybody wants to contradict or share an alternative view, you're perfectly free to come in and do so. That's what we do over here. We chop things up. Yeah, so one of the things was that Mike Tyson's era was from 86 to, what did he say, 90? The Good Fight Doctor said Mike Tyson's era was from 86 to 1990.
I think he's really just dating it to the Buster Douglas loss, isn't he?
Seems that way.
I mean, I think there's an argument that was Mike Tyson's prime.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy with. I mean, he spent time in jail. He went off the rails. He went for a horrible divorce. Lost people from his camp. And just generally went off the rails. Probably a large part of potentially why he lost to Douglas. So if you want to class that as Mike Tyson's prime, then I wouldn't really argue against it.
Right.
Which I think I mean, his best performances came within that period. Got some company.
We got company.
Hey, what's up, fellas? What's going on? Good morning, everyone, man.
The Boxing Jedi live from Florida is in the building. We're going to get to the Boxing Jedi in a second. Good to have you in here, Boxing Jedi. But John Daly, please continue.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to define a prime, or Mike Tyson in his prime, 86 to 1990 seems a reasonable span.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to call that the Mike Tyson era, I'm not so sure, because I think Mike Tyson's influence over the heavyweight division went for longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would tend to agree with that statement. Is that your opening statement, John? Or you carry?
No, I'm happy with that statement. I wouldn't call a 4-year period a short prime. A lot of good people's title runs last that long. If you look over history, and he was never really the dominant force once he got beaten by Douglas. Really, not in the same way. He had good wins. Yeah, he was certainly still a good fighter.
Yeah,
but he wasn't the dominant force after that point in the heavyweight division for me.
Okay, John Daly's opening salvo. Excellente, and welcoming in the Boxing Jedi.
Hey, what's going on, Raph? What's up, Mr. Daly? What's going on, everybody, man?
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's a sunny day over here in the UK. Just got back off my bike ride. Up in the shower. It's hot ever since the COVID thing. The lockdown thing was announced. I think it's been a blazing sunny day over here in the UK ever since.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. I'm glad you guys are getting sunny days over there as well, man. Here, it's the same thing, man. We're like hitting 92 already. Yeah, here in Florida, it's always like that. But I just wanted to add in, and I totally agree with Mr. Daly. But I have to, debunk once again the fight doctor, because if we all remember, and if you really, if some people need help with box rec, they can check that in '96, right? In '96, he won if I'm not mistaken, the WBA from Bruce Seldon, right? So for a fight doctor to say that he wasn't relevant after 1990, after him coming out and beating Bruce Seldon. Even though he lost it to Evander Holyfield, because we all know what happened, we can all say Mike Tyson really had no prime, because when you lock up a champion like that for 4 years, that's like a fighter losing 8 years, really. And that really told its tale, because when he came out, I mean, he wasn't the same. So, as well as, switched trainers and stuff, I mean, it was really bad, between him and Rooney, what went on. But, him listening to J.O. Bright and everything, it was just terrible. But, terrible decision. But we can't omit what he gained in '96, and how he just kept fighting, of course, afterwards, to basically, I think his last good fight that he had, I'm not even gonna add Clifford Etienne. What I'm gonna add that I feel was his very, very good fight, where he frustrated an opponent, made him quit, was the Galata. After that, everything else was just like mediocre. You know what I mean? And he lost as well, but Mike Tyson is to be respected. And and when I say this, I'm not blasting it to Raph, I'm not blasting it to myself or anyone who wants to bring this up. But we can take this only as what it is. And even though the guys that are on Luis Ortiz's side are going to lose, this is just a fantasy fight scenario. Now, guys that are actually putting their whole heart and soul into this, as if Luis Ortiz can actually be mentioned in the same sentence as Mike Tyson, as if he can actually be placed in that ring, even in our imagination, even in a fantasy fight, that's like blasphemous. Like right away, like a real fight fan would think about it for a split second and be like, oh, no, I can't do that. Crazy? No. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no, I'm not going to sin like that. So I'm not taking anything away from Luis Ortiz, but really to really say that, fighters of today would have destroyed or conquered fighters who had a harder trading regimen longer fight weeks, longer rounds in their fights. I mean, you know what I mean? And all of this talk with the how do you say, the high tech performance supplements that they're taking, the legal ones that is, and as well as all this gym equipment. They haven't shown me and other people anything with all this high tech, because if boxing's supposed to evolve, then why has it devolved? That's just my statement, guys.
Yeah, some good points there from the boxing Jedi. Yeah, so I know John Daly. I think one of the pertinent points there. Pertinent points is what is an era. I think for me it's the time in which the time span in which a fighter fought. If I had to put it into my own words, it's the time span in which a fighter fought, and then of course you look at his best period. So if he was primarily fighting in the 80s and he tailed over into maybe the 90s, or maybe it started in the 70s, his era would have been in the 80s. That's the bulk. His bulk. That's fighter's era is the bulk, is the period in which the bulk of his fights took place. And of course, you're gonna include his best fighting era within the era. That would be my own definition, John Daly.
Defining an era is just going to be subjective all the time. I mean, it's something that boxing historians are always arguing over. Definition of eras, which was the best era, what that era is. We can all formulate our own definitions of each boxing era. You know, Mike Silver will argue that the best era of heavyweights was the 20s to the 40s. Jerry Eisenberg will argue that the greatest time is pretty much from Muhammad Ali's reign till Mike Tyson. Yeah. We've all got opinions and biases. There isn't really a right answer. It's just a subjective view, really.
Yeah. Yes.
And I can make all sorts of different definitions. So it's really slippery. And just because you're defining a fighter, let's take Muhammad Ali. He's a really good example for this. Yeah. On both counts, because there's a lot of similarities into what happened. Yeah. So Muhammad Ali is probably considered to have fought in two eras, but his prime is probably considered to be in the first era, even though some of his greatest achievements happened in the second era that he fought in. Because he, like Tyson, had an enforced absence from the ring of about a similar amount of time. So from that point of view, you know, that's a good example of a fighter arguably dominating two eras. Yeah. And having a prime, but still having good performances after his prime, arguably his most defining performance when he wasn't in his prime.
That's interesting. Okay, so what time span would you put on Mike Tyson's era if you had to?
I'd actually class his era probably up until Lennox Lewis, because whilst he wasn't the same dominant force as what he was when I class him in his prime, like Boxing Jedi's put it out, he had really good wins. He was still totally relevant, and he cast a shadow over the heavyweight division really until Lennox Lewis became a force. You know, or when Holyfield ended it. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to class his two fights with Holyfield as the end of his era, that's fine for me. Either way, Mike Tyson was the name in that period of time. Everybody saw him as the biggest name, even if they didn't think he was the best boxer.
Yeah. And his fight with Evander Holyfield was in 1996. That was his first fight with Evander. Yeah, so that certainly stretches it further out than the Fight Doctor did. The Fight Doctor had his Tyson's era going from 86. So he fight in 86. Damn, fought about 7 times, 8 times. Bloody hell, he's fighting every month in 86. Jeez. Holy hell. David Jacko, Mike Jameson, Jesse Ferguson, Steve Zukski, James Quick Tillis, Mitch Green, Reggie Cross, William Jose, Lorenzo Boyd, Marvis Fraser, Joey or Jose Rabalta, Alfonso Ratliff, 86, Trevor Burbick. Jeez, how many times did he fight in 86? Holy hell. That's ridiculous.
This is exactly what I'm saying, Raf, about Mike Tyson. If you also notice, look at the dates, right? This man fought year after year after year. Then it completed right when he went to jail. Then he picked it right back up, fighting year after year, right after Peter McNeely and everyone else. He kept fighting year after year after he did not miss a year. Take a look at the dates. Look at him. Look at him.
Crazy.
The thing about the 86 though, is that's the year HBO managed to do a sort of super series of the heavyweights to unify all the titles. At the start of that year, Tyson wasn't really a very highly ranked fighter.
Right.
And what they did was they made him very, very active to get him to be ranked so they could get him into the competition because all of his knockouts were creating a sensation that they knew would generate a lot of cash. Yes. Then he went on to win the tournament. Once he was the unified, undisputed champion, that's when he fought Spinks for the lineal. So that's why he's so active in 86 in particular.
Yeah, it's mad activity levels. Mad activity.
But part of the reason people will look at his resume and start to slate it is some of that activity were softer touches.
Oh yeah. We're not saying.
But when you're that active, there have to be. So if you're gonna try and compare it to Wilder has never been active like that.
Never.
So none of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're gonna be that active, you can't be in wars and fight twice a month.
No,
it's just not possible.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Activity levels. The Boxing Jedi fought 12 times in 86. The boxing. Yeah.
That's why he was a beast. I mean, look at this rate. Look at this activity rate. I mean, and then as well as his training, waking up 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, and not only running once but twice within that training regimen. Whenever he had to do road work, and on top of that, it's like everyone here, just like I debunked Fight Doctor yesterday on my live.
Yeah, I debunked him a couple of times yesterday.
Exactly. So it's like, all right, so let's just say, right, because he came out and he also said that Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis have a better fight, a better resume, and fought better credible opponents than Mike Tyson. Well, this is where I debunked him. How is that possible when 45 to 50% Lennox Lewis's and Evander Holyfield's opponents were the same fight selection as Mike Tyson? Just because he fought Foreman more, which is Holyfield, and then Tua, and then on the side of Lewis, you got to understand, he was incarcerated those times. So, and after when he came back, none of these guys were in that frame except for Holyfield and Lewis. So it just comes to the bias, like Mr. Daly said, it just comes to the bias. For me, if you ask me exactly what defines an era, I think it's every 10 years. every 10 years you can see that's when new
Yo.
talent comes up. And so I feel it's like every 10 years, and it's really true because look at Shannon Briggs, how they're denying him. And
yeah,
at
you're
the same time,
distorting boxing Jedi. You got some distortion there, as if two electrical wires are rubbing together.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, I'm sorry. So it's like I say it's every 10 years because, and the proof is in the pudding. If you look at Shannon Briggs, who's trying very hard, they were denying him. They still are, but yeah, he denied himself by failing a test. But you know, that's another live. But you know, he's able to be a 3-decade champ, right? That's being a champion 3 times within the 10 span of 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Within, you know, so that's 30 years, right? So gotta understand. I think the reason why as well veterans, when they step into this era as a Manny Pacquiao, right? You know, transitioning from era to era and dominating is because these guys don't practice their craft like the other guys did. This is what I mean about it is a lot of these fighters out here, fight fans, you have to understand you cannot come up if you're going to compare the greats with these guys of today. Understand that you're gonna lose, and understand another thing that you know these guys do not fight as hard as these guys did, and exactly what Raph has pointed out, or Mr. Daly has pointed out, with the activity. Okay, with the activity, being active. A lot of these guys play diva today. A lot of these guys make excuses. They price themselves out. They want money for this. They want money for that. But yeah, guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, Tommy Hearns, everyone else who made millions, it came with the work ethic. Your hands did your pricing for you. You know what I mean? But you know, these guys are always going to say, and this is the excuse, and this is what gets me upset about this. They're always going to say, well, you know, it's a different era. No. It's the same sport. The activity that these guys are not putting out should be the activity that the other guys put out in order for them to be called great and to be compared and to stand in a class by themselves. This is why these guys from back then are that. And you forcing it and arguing and doing all of this stuff and is not going to change anything. But these guys can change it if they were to bring up their fight activity.
Yeah. So I think the era thing has been well and truly taken care of. Mike Tyson's era. Let me just go show up the graphic. Mike Tyson's era. I put it to you that Mike Tyson's era. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at his start time and finish time. He started in 1985 as a pro, finished in 2005. I put it to you that Mike Tyson has an era, easily a 15-year era from 1986 to 19. Where are we going? 2005 it carries. Well, he fought Lennox Lewis in 2002. He fought Lennox Lewis in 2002. So you can't even say his era is from 86 to 90. You can't even say that.
Yeah, because he fought beyond.
Yeah, well, he fought a massive fight beyond. You know, if he was just trickling down and fighting nobodies in the 2000s, but he fought Galata in 2000. He fought Lennox Lewis in 2002. And a very good point was made. Shout out to Rick Glazer, the industry insider. Anybody who has not caught that podcast, that live show last night, it's up. Go into my channel and you'll see that's one of the latest videos. And I got to give him a shout out to Rick Glazer. And he said a very, very interesting thing. He said that Mike Tyson, people write that fight up and say, oh, Mike Tyson was past his best by then. But if we take a look at that was his what? His fourth but last fight. 1, 2, 3, 4. His fourth last fight. But if we go over to Lennox Lewis, if we go to Lennox the Lion Lewis, why is this damn ad popped up? It's interfering. We will see. Let's scroll down here. We will see that Mike Tyson was his last but one fight. Let that sink in, people. For everybody who says that Mike Tyson was past his best by then when he fought Lennox Lewis. Yes.
Beautifully done.
He was.
Beautifully done. This is beautiful. Beautiful, Raph. I love this. Go ahead, brother. Preach. Oh yeah. Take him to church, brother. Take him to church. Oh yeah.
Thank you, sir. But so to be clear and to reiterate and to debunk this notion that, oh yeah, Mike Tyson was past his best. Yes, he was past his best. But guess who else was past his best? Lennox, the Lion, Claudius Lewis.
Oh yeah. I think we have a little debunking going on
People
here.
actually need to understand that Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson would have been in the same school year. So Lewis's birthday's in September, 65. And Mike Tyson is June, 66.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst
Lennox was older.
Lennox was the older end of the same school year, they would have actually been in the same school year. Tyson would have just been one of the younger kids, and Lewis would have been one of the older kids.
Yeah.
You know, the difference in age between the two of them is pretty much irrelevant.
It's months, yeah. Months. And so yeah, we got to make this very, 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 very clear. And I reiterate once again, because it's something that's said over and over and over ad nauseum. Mike Tyson was past his best when he fought Lennox Lewis. Well, you could say Lennox Lewis could have. There's an argument to say, well, hold on a second. Lennox Lewis is older, and he fought Mike Tyson only one fight. He only had one more fight after Mike Tyson. The boxing. So to be clear, what I'm saying is that cut the talk about Mike Tyson fighting Lennox Lewis when he's past his prime, because Lennox was past his prime too. And whereas Mike Tyson had 4 fights after Lennox Lewis, or 3 fights, Lennox Lewis only had 1. And that was against Vitaly Klitschko, the boxing Jedi.
Exactly. I have to exactly agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Lennox Lewis is a very, very talented fighter, you know, but the thing here is that, you know, these guys always like to shit on my name, and I'm not really having it anymore. Thank you guys for really defending my honor. You know what I'm saying? You know, because these guys don't understand exactly how it is to fight a champion like Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis, a year later, fought Vitaly Klitschko, and then he retired. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. At least I retired. I came back. You know, I won the strap, of course, and then I lost it to Evander Holyfield. You know, by the way, your ear was very salty, Evander.
Yeah, definitely salted ears. Definitely salted ears. Yeah, I think the boxing Jedi has fallen off a little bit. It's fallen off there, lost his connection or something.
No, I'm back, brother. Yeah, you know. So basically, what I'm saying is that, you know, that was a great point that everybody missed as well. Thanks to that gentleman and yourself for bringing it to the forefront, because that's a very important point there. Just like the very important point where, you know, a lot of guys like to say, which, you know, I debunked, where, you know, oh, Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, you know, and Evander Holyfield have a better, you know, fight selection, but yet they have the same one. So here we go now, which is another case to this, where Lennox Lewis had longevity. Really, a year later, one more fight, and then he did. So Mike Tyson was really up in their era.
100%, 100%. So some more debunking going on here. Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. Where we at? Oh, we got the air is populated further still. Who we got here? The man domain. Red gloved militant.
What's up, Red? What's up, Red?
Yes, Red up in the building. Then we got unbiased or biased boxing. Who's he debating? It's not a debate, it's a discussion. It's a discussion, and the topic is, what is an era in boxing?
Yeah, Ralph, he's just changing the gentleman that you were, the guy you was debating yesterday, unbiased. Well, you know, basically he's teaching them the right way on how to break down my resume. That's all. You know what I'm saying?
Well put. Very well put. Can't fault that statement one iota. Hit the like button or take a or hit the like or take a hike. Excellente. Excellente. I don't know who is debating. Yeah, it's a discussion. It's a three-way discussion. Anybody want to jump in and add their thoughts, as you know, is always welcome over here. You know, we're truth seekers over here. We like the truth, and we like to show the truth and expose the truth. And now, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. A good, honest, clean fun. Okay, so now we got to get into the next element. Like I said, we're not here for a long time. We're keeping this thing nice and tight. But if you want to jump in, anybody want to jump in, jump in. So the next element of this damn thing is okay. So yeah. Damn, I was scared. I thought I lost my train of thought. That's not a good thing to do on a live, but I caught it. So now we have to look at the motive. Now we have to look at the motive. We have to look at the reason why. And I'll give my opinion. You see, I think that sometimes when something doesn't make sense, when someone's putting forth an argument which clearly does not make sense, you have to look at the motive. There's got to be a reason behind it. When multiple people, when I broke it down in the live debate, and then I reviewed the tape live, and then we further went on to discuss it live and pick the threads of the sheet apart. You know, you have to say, well, hold on a second. Why are you saying this? Why are you saying something which does not make any logical sense? And I'm forced to look at the possibility. I'm not making an accusation, but I'm saying I'm forced to look at the possibility that the argument, which didn't make sense, was narrative driven. Allow me to further expand. When you want to push a narrative, you're going to have to take an argument and distort it in order to try to make it make sense, which could then have a knock-on effect, making your argument seem credible. Allow me to further expand. Okay, now, if Red Glove Militant is up in the building, now, I'll talk to you in a second, Red. Now, if a person tries to make the argument that Luis Ortiz could beat everybody, could knock out everybody that Mike Tyson knocked out. If you try to make that argument, and if you say that Luis Ortiz is functioning in an era which is better than the era of Mike Tyson, I have to say, no. There's a narrative there. You're trying to push a narrative. When you say Mike Tyson's era was weak, you're trying to push a narrative. Why are you trying to push a narrative? It all boils back to the man, Deontay Wilder. You see, if he says that Luis Ortiz, a man who was, I'm sorry to say, achieved nothing, pretty much nothing in the heavyweight division. If you try to push a narrative that Luis Ortiz could beat everyone in Tyson's era, and that Tyson's era was weak, then I put it to you that what is really going on is that you're trying to say that Deontay Wilder's best win was against a man who could have beat everybody else that Mike Tyson beat, could have knocked out everybody else that Mike Tyson beat. And therefore, look at it further. We're trying to say that Deontay Wilder is on par, somehow on par with Mike Tyson. And since Red Glove has just come in, I'm going to go with Red Glove first. Welcome, Red Glove. It's a sunny day over here in the UK. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a sunny day in Florida, like every day is.
I bet you wish you could have some rain over there. I bet you wish you could have some nice warm rain. I bet you get fed up with the sun. Or maybe not.
You can't honestly tell me that a guy who his most notable win is Bryant Jennings, but even more so, what he's more known for is being knocked out by Deontay Wilder twice. You can't tell me that this is based off of accomplishment. Like, it has to be purely off the eye test. But, you know, I don't go off of eye test because you got to take, if you're going to go by eye test, you got to take the level of competition in
Consideration.
In consideration, exactly. And his level of competition ain't great. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I think a lot of people thought Bryant Jennings was gonna beat him. He knocked him out in spectacular fashion. But let's be honest, Bryant Jennings is not. He does not match up to anybody that Tyson beats. No, none of them.
Yeah.
So it's just, to me, it's just very disingenuous to say that Luis Ortiz would beat all of them when he hasn't. It's like you said, exactly. He hasn't accomplished anything. Like I said, his two biggest accomplishments is beating Bryant Jennings and being knocked out by Deontay Wilder. Good job, Ortiz. Good job.
Yeah. But that's about it.
Yeah. So I think that's all I have to say on that particular subject matter.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Going over to John D. Lee.
Well, I think there's an argument to be made that this is a good heavyweight era. Unfortunately, Luis Ortiz hasn't really fought any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
Ortiz, I had one of the points Fight Doctor was making about Tyson fighting light heavyweights. Ortiz has got 6 cruiserweights on his on his debut.
Damn.
I'm sorry, on his resume. He's got 6 cruiserweights. He's got an ancient Burt Cooper who had 22 losses at the time he fought in. In Luis Ortiz's 18th fight, he fought a debutant.
Damn.
And then before he fought Wilder for the second time, he couldn't even knock out Christian Hammer, a man that Tyson Fury was able to put away.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson Fury is not a big puncher.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of narrative, the true narrative is they're trying to say that Wilder is a bigger puncher than Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I actually think Mike Tyson's power is pretty overrated.
Uh-oh.
But what Tyson did have was excellent punching accuracy, fantastic combinations, incredibly fast feet, and equal power in both hands. So, you know, Mike Tyson was a very, very skillful fighter. I mean, that can't be denied. And he definitely had good power, but I don't think Mike Tyson's the hardest puncher of all time. But I also think that Wilder is definitely not the hardest puncher of all time. Something that people keep overlooking as well. They like to talk about Wilder's knockout percentage.
Yeah.
He's now got 3 fights where he failed to knock his opponent out. Anthony Joshua has the same number.
Wow.
Which is an interesting thing, really, isn't it?
That's deep. That is deep. And who we got? We got the Fight Doctor himself. Apart from an old Holmes, who did Mike Tyson ever best? That was elite level. Let me put the link in the chat. Fight Doctor is back. Link in the chat.
I've got a question for the Fight Doctor, though.
Yeah.
How many top 10 heavyweights has Mike Tyson knocked out? And how many top 10 heavyweights as Luis Ortiz knocked out, because whether they're elite or not, there's considerably more top 10 heavyweights on Mike Tyson's resume, because the only top 10 heavyweight on Ortiz's resume who he has knocked out is Bryant Jennings. And that's like pushing it to be a top 10 as well. He's like a fringe top 10.
And may I add to that as well? Isn't beating a heavyweight champion beating someone at an elite level, gentlemen?
Yeah.
I mean,
right. It is, right?
You could argue that that's no. I would be happy to say that that would just put you as very good as opposed to elite.
Right.
However,
But
if
if
you're
the
going
champ,
to say that Luis Ortiz, who never knocked out any very good fighters, or maybe one, compares to Mike Tyson knocking out a string of very good heavyweight fighters.
right. But my question here is, right? If you beat a world heavyweight champion and you take his championship, isn't that beating someone on an elite level?
I think you can have an argument for and against that.
Okay, because I think beating Tony Tucker for the championship, for the BC, I'm sorry, for WBC, WBA is beating someone at an elite level. You can't take away Michael Spinks from that either, because
I think you can. I'd agree that Tucker's elite, potentially, an argument for that, but he didn't knock him out, which falls in with what I think Fight Doctor's talking about. Tony Tucker was a good fighter. Was he elite? Maybe, maybe not. But in that era, and him being a champion. Well, I mean, I think what Fight Doctor's trying to get at is that none of them, with regards to history, will be regarded as elite.
Well, I think
because they're definitely top 10.
Yeah, exactly. But exactly for the point you're making, Mr. Daly, and as well as elite level guys as well, like Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks, the guy you wanted to take out, which you shouldn't be taken out, because that's part of his accomplishments. You know what I mean? I mean, there are a lot of elite fighters on Mike Tyson's resume. Now, did he beat Evander Holyfield, who was the ultimate elite, and Lennox Lewis, who was the ultimate elite at the time? No, he didn't. But we all know exactly why. But to say that he never beat elite fighters, I mean, this is pro boxing. You know what I mean? He did beat champions. He did knock out top 10s. So what more should be added to that question, Fight Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Wilder has knocked out anybody elite. Are you gonna tell me? Are you gonna tell me that Chris Ariola's elite? Are you gonna tell me that Bermain Stavern is elite? Are you gonna tell me? His best win is Luis Ortiz. I don't consider Luis Ortiz elite. Because who has he beat that's elite? Like
the facts are, Wilder's only knocked out one top 10 heavyweight fighter, and that's Luis Ortiz twice, because he didn't knock out Stavern, and he hasn't knocked out Tyson Fury. So those are the three that he's fought, and he's only knocked out one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, he when to be clear, I think what John's saying is that when he knocked out Stavern the second time, Stavern wasn't ranked. Yeah.
Exactly. And then as well, he says, but then wouldn't that make Charles Martin elite level? No, it wouldn't, because Charles Martin didn't even defend his title, not once. That's number one. Number two, Charles Martin didn't fight anyone credible in order for him to be put at that elite level. So you have to know the difference between a fighter actually being elite, right? Like Ronnie Lyle never won a title in his life, but he was an elite competitor. You know what I mean? He gave the guys a business. He stretched these guys out that were elite fighters. So he was an elite competitor. You have to know your difference here, brother. Go ahead.
I mean, I think at that point you're arguing over semantics, really, because people can draw their line in the sand about what makes an elite fighter wherever they want.
Exactly.
However, if you look at the number of definite top 10 fighters that Tyson fought, it's chalk and cheese compared to Ortiz and Wilder's resumes. There's just no comparison. Yeah. So, elite is a bit like an era. It's a subjective opinion.
But what I think we can say with a degree of certainty, because to be clear, and to be fair to the Fight Doctor, what he's talking about is the top. Is ultimately what he's saying. I don't think he used the word elite. What he's saying is that Ortiz specifically could knock out everyone that Ortiz could knock out everyone that Tyson Fury KO'd. I don't think you're talking about elite, but
Well, you mean Mike Tyson? But I don't agree.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. Based off of, it's not based off of anything. Like because he was able to knock out Jennings. He's able to knock out Trevor Burbick. He's able to knock out Larry Holmes. He's able to knock out like come on, like you can't honestly tell me that Jennings matches up to these guys.
Listen. Let's look at the meaning of elite. First of all, the meaning is a select group that is superior in terms of ability or qualities to the rest of a group or society. Okay, so I think what Mr. Daly has said could be semantics. We could draw the line on that, but then if we bring up resumes, if we bring up, which is within the terms and the group and the society we speak in, which is boxing, right? If we go by the rules of what makes a person elite, and we all know it's not, I don't think it really would be subjective, because you have to have qualifications, just like you have to have qualifications to get into the Hall of Fame, right? So in order to be elite in boxing, you have to fight your top tens. You at least snatch a title. If you didn't snatch a title, at least fight the top tens, knock out or win some of your fights from the top tens, as well as move up in your rankings. Those are some of the qualifications. Luis Ortiz gained one strap. That was it. Gave it up. He vacated it. Moved. Got into political stuff. These guys back then that you're saying that he could. I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but you had it stripped due to steroid, a failed
Look
test.
Look at that.
So,
Thank you.
That's what a reason I jumped in.
Oh, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Daly. No, you know what I mean? So, and that's a very good point. Thank you. So it makes what I'm saying, what Mr. Daly and everyone on the panel, Raph, Red, and everyone in the chat that is saying, okay, Michael Spinks is elite. Okay, he was up there. He has beat credible opponents. Guys on Mike Tyson's, Lennox Lewis, and Evander Holyfield's resume they were elite because they were the top notch in that era. This is what we speak of in this era. We can only pull out maybe 4 fighters that we would consider in the heavyweight division elite. Let's really talk boxing in this era. It's not really that much. I don't understand how you can put these guys against those guys, and those guys are much greater and have much more accomplishments that actually pave the road for these guys, which are not respecting.
So I'm going to nail down now. I'm going to nail down. Like I said, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, spitting the truths, looking at definitions of words. So I'm going to nail down as well. The fight doctor says, no, I'm saying just because you're a champion doesn't mean you're elite. Okay. I'll put that on the table, but I'm gonna narrow it down. I'm gonna condense it. So to be clear, what you were saying, fight doctor, is that everybody that Tyson knocked out, Luis Ortiz knocked out. But there's a problem with that theory and that hypothesis. The problem, my good man, is as follows. What has Luis Ortiz ever done? What has Luis Ortiz ever done?
Yeah. Let me put it.
Which could substantiate.
I've got a better question for
which
you.
could substantiate your statement.
I've got a really good question, though. I've got a fantastic question for the fight doctor. Would a prime Mike Tyson knock out a Christian Hammer?
Say that again. You distorted, John.
Sorry. Would a prime Mike Tyson knock out a Christian Hammer? Because that's something Luis Ortiz was unable to do.
Yeah. And Feather Fist Tyson Fury was able to do. Big boys, but the boxing Jedi.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring up one more point too. And fight doctor, you brought up that there were no championships made in was, and championships, at least not today, but back then, championships marked exactly where you were. It is a trophy to mark exactly where you are within your division. So championship straps are important. The problem here is that they put them into politics, and they've totally disgraced the championship titles in this era. Notice how everything is wrong in this era, but everything else was set in place. That's all I have to say.
So what was the allegation there? There were no championship fights in
No. He said that there were no straps. Remember when he said that the WBC and other straps are just a figment of the imagination? Remember he said that?
Okay.
Yeah, well, if he did his research around that era, there were straps.
I get what you're saying. So John Daly's question to you, Michael J. White, is Michael J. White, the fight doctor, is please, well, it's my question as well. I mean, my question is, can you substantiate? Can you provide some supporting evidence which would back up? Because I really want to understand. I'm just a guy who likes to understand things. I really want to understand where you're coming from. So the question is, should I even write it down to make it concrete? Can you provide any substantiating evidence to back up your claim? That's the question a good minute or two ago. You haven't responded yet. I'm assuming that you're formulating your response. You're probably typing in your response in. So I'm going to type in my question so that it may be memorialized. Anybody want to talk while I'm typing? Feel free to. Red Glove Militant, you want to come in?
Sure. Yeah. That's the whole thing about the titles not meaning anything. I can understand that sentiment in this era to an extent. When you have the WBC, nullifying their own rankings by creating a title that doesn't change hands, and you're not expected to defend against any mandatories, then yeah, I can understand why you would have that sentiment today. That wasn't the case in the 90s. In the 90s, the rankings actually meant something. So it's not just a figment of our imagination. Just because certain sanctioning bodies didn't exist, back in Jack Johnson's day, the metrics changed. That there also used to be way more rounds back then. We have way less rounds now. So
Exactly.
things change.
Exactly.
So just because, a lot of fans feel that the belts don't mean anything today, doesn't mean that was the case in the 90s.
Exactly.
You can't apply it. It's completely different in the 90s as how it is now.
Exactly.
You don't have these guys talking. You didn't have all this A-side bull crap. Like, I understand there was A-side, but it's not like it is today. Where they want to dictate the gloves you wear.
Right.
It's A-side back then was just, you got you picked the venue and you got the lion's share, and that was about the extent of it. Now it's all this other extra stuff that is really contaminating the sport.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can't apply that sentiment to the 90s. I'm not gonna accept it. You might accept it as a fan, but I'm not gonna. That's right. That's, to me, that's just a fallacy.
Right. And I also want to just add that, to actually say that, there were no championships back then in Jack Johnson's era. And it was, you got to also understand, bro, Jack Johnson was a champion. How does that not count? How does that not count? Especially in that era where it was terrible for a colored heavyweight champion, a colored man, a human being. Just because of his pigment of his skin, they hated him because he was champion. How can you leave that out? It's just,
It's history. It's like you're trying to eliminate history. like back then, there was still champion. It may have not been the WBA, WBC, IBF, and all that, but there was still champions. And in fact, there was two champions. You had the regular champion and you had the colored champion. If you know about Jack Johnson, he had to go all the way to Australia to fight for the what was considered the real, the real championship. So yeah, there was still champions back then. It was just the metrics were different. Like I said, things have changed and the sport has evolved over time. And you can't say that there wasn't champions. That's just simply not true.
I believe the fight doctor writes, I believe boxing has evolved. Bigger, stronger, better technology, better training methods, nutrition, PEDs, etc. So theoretically, the best era of our current boxers should beat the boxers of the 60s to the 90s. I'm going to go over to John Daly because I know he has a philosophy on this.
Well, there's an element of there being a change in the really big men, which I think did start with Lennox Lewis.
Right.
But having said that, a prime George Foreman, in my opinion, would comfortably fit into this current era. George Foreman and Dillian Whyte are the same size. A lot of boxers throughout history have been in the 6'3", 6'4", 78-inch reach region.
Yeah.
Max Baer was 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. There were other big men in that time, but he was probably the best one.
Yeah.
Sonny Liston isn't a tall man.
The best in terms of range.
But in terms of range, power, I think he could live with this era. Also, Cleveland Williams actually was. He was like 6'2", 6'3". He also had an 80-inch reach.
Damn.
So, these guys may be considered a smaller heavyweight now. But that's what Dillian Whyte is. He's a 6'4" guy with a 78-inch reach.
Right.
And who's to say that Dillian Whyte can't beat Tyson Fury? He definitely thinks he can.
Yeah.
Fury said he'll give him the mandatory when that comes up if he's still holding the belt. And what's a heavyweight as well? Because the facts are, Luis Ortiz is a blown-up cruiserweight. Luis Ortiz was not a super heavyweight in the main basis for Luis Ortiz is the fact he's Cuban in America. This seems to hold as much kudos as being in America, an Olympic gold medal winner. But Luis Ortiz was the B fighter, and he was in the heavyweight division, which is equivalent to the cruiserweight division currently.
Yeah.
So, if we're going to talk in poundage, a lot of the guys were 220s. Foreman is a bigger, heavier man than Deontay Wilder. Naturally, he might be shorter. He might have a smaller reach, but in terms of physical mass, he's a bigger person than Deontay Wilder.
Clearly,
if Dillian Whyte was actually trim, he should be 230s. Well, there's plenty of people in the 230s in Tyson's era.
Yeah.
So I think we're overstating it. Yes, Lennox Lewis, 6'5", 240 pounds, made for bigger men. But I mean, there were guys that size in the 30s. Max's brother, he was actually 6'6" and 240 pounds. Somebody that Joe Louis beat.
Yeah,
as a 6'3" guy with not a particularly big reach.
Yeah.
So I think there's too much placed on it because at the same time there's been a definite devaluing of the skill level in the current crop of heavyweights.
Yeah.
So would a more skilled Larry Holmes be a top level heavyweight in this era? Because Larry Holmes is not a small guy. 6'3". What's his reach? Got like an 18-inch reach or something.
It's got a long reach.
He's got a good long reach on him. So, yeah, the very top guys are bigger, but none of them are as skilled as Lewis anyway.
You see, where my view on that, and I'll bring up the question again. I think this might bring things to a close or very close to a close. See, my thing on this thing is very simple. So you take a guy who's in this age, he's a little bit bigger than his counterpart in the 80s, let's say, or the 90s. But the difference is, and I'll compare it with. Should I compare it with something else? I can compare it with bodybuilding. The bodybuilders of today are significantly bigger than the bodybuilders of, let's say, the 90s. However, the constant knock is they don't train as hard today as they used to back in the day. They don't train as hard. So, yeah, training techniques may have become more sophisticated. But let's look at a current day example. Let's look at Anthony Joshua. What did he have to do to rejig, to revamp? He had to go back to basics. He said, forget about the weights, because now he's dealing with body weights. So effectively, what has he done? He's effectively gone back to training techniques more akin to the 90s than they are now. He's gone old school somewhat. He's gone back to the old school training. So just because you got new training techniques now and maybe improved nutrition, you haven't even got better nutrition, because it's been shown and proved that the vegetables of today have less nutrition in them than the vegetables of yesterday.
Hey, Raph, can I just add one more thing in there with the nutrition part?
Of course,
If the nutrition graduated so much, fight doctor, then why does the percentage of guys pissing lava and failing tests, right, surpass the guys of back then? Why is that? Why a lot of fighters, since nutrition has, it sure did evolve. It evolved into some more illegal substances, more scandals in boxing. I totally disagree with what you're saying. And just because the fighters are bigger doesn't mean they're always going to beat a little man. That has been debunked many times. And as well as the fighters in the 70s, you say these days would be light heavy to cruiser weight these days. Let me tell you something. Those guys would have done what Usyk and Evander Holyfield did, maybe gained 4 or 5 more pounds, kid, and went up there and just waxed everybody in this era. That's all I got to say. Thank you, Ralph.
Yes. So hold on. I just want to get this out. So just because guys are bigger now, it don't mean that they are better. Bigger doesn't always equate to better. The fight ethic. Does the average fighter now have the same fight ethic of a guy back in the 90s? I put it to you, the fight doctor, that you had harder work, you had stricter trainers, you had more disciplined fighters when it came to the training back in the day. So just because they're more bigger, bloat don't mean better. Bloat don't mean better. Yeah, guys working harder back in the day, arguably. And so, hard work beats talent when the talents are equal. And I say to you, if you're working harder in the gym, if you're fighting more often, you are perfecting your craft. You are becoming a smooth, oiled machine. These cats today fighting once, maybe twice a year. No, it don't compare to the guys of yesteryear who are practicing their craft and who are getting in the ring more often. John Daly, you want to say something before I go on to
the intention of what they used to do has changed as well. I mean, trying to talk about someone like Ken Norton, who would only be a cruiserweight in this day and age, is completely false. So Ken Norton would go into camp at 220 and actually strip down to 2005 because he wanted to be quick and slick.
Boom.
In today's era, Ken Norton could comfortably walk around at 230.
Mm-hmm.
We're only talking about 10 pounds to his normal walk around weight.
Yeah.
And if you consistently put that type of weight on, it'll stick in the end. But they didn't want to get bigger because it wasn't seen as a benefit. And arguably, they were right, because Joshua's just come out with a great performance losing weight.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder's just put about the same amount of weight on and looked terrible.
Yeah.
What's Deontay Wilder's best weight? Probably 220. Well, that puts him smack at the same size as heavyweights from the 50s up until now. So it's just it's putting too much emphasis on this size. In my opinion, it's to try and close the gap in lack of skills.
Yes.
Exactly.
I just want to address something Beeb said. Yeah, Beeb. Yeah, but they are bigger. Yeah, they are bigger. I agree there. They are athletic. I don't know if they're more athletic. I don't know if you put all of those guys on a track or put them on a what do you call it? Assault course. I don't know if you put those guys on a track and then put them on the assault course and that they would be proved to be more today's guys would prove to be more athletic. I don't know about that.
I'm pretty confident that.
And skilled. Let me just finish this bit, John. And skilled. I don't believe the guys of today are more skilled than the guys of yesterday. I think skills are developed by constant use, constant honing, applying the craft. And the guys of yesteryear, they were fighting more often. They were slicker because they were fighting more often. So bigger is the only thing that the modern day heavyweight boxer, has over the heavyweights of yesteryear, in my humble opinion.
Yes, sir. And also, the fight doctor asked, so you're saying that height and range isn't an advantage, and I'm saying that not in all cases. If you have the skill to use your tools, it's then an advantage. Just like Mike Tyson had the skill to use his height to get under opponents and be on top of their jab when he had to. You see, there's a difference. It's all about skill, like Mr. Daly and Raph and Red has stated. It's all about skill. It's not only about physical ability. You have to have the skill behind that physical ability. Look at the Tyson Fury 2 fight. You know what I'm saying? Wilder was taller. He didn't use his height. He didn't know how to use it, especially against, this is what I mean about what Beef said. What's up, Beef? How you doing, my brother? God bless you. I have to disagree with the skilled part of today, because these guys don't even know how to use their tools. They don't know how to use their tools.
Red glove.
It can't be just about size. I mean, if you need an example, just look at this great sport that we love called boxing. Ruiz was able to beat AJ once, and AJ, I think we can all agree, AJ's a bigger man. Lomachenko on the regular beats bigger men, and Mike Tyson, almost all his opponents were bigger than him. So it can't just be about size. Size isn't what wins fights. If that was the case, then we shouldn't even have hold matches. Like we would just assume the bigger guy would win every single time. You know what I'm saying? So it can't be about size. And even at that, then we apply everything that you said and take Luis Ortiz. He's not bigger than everybody from the 90s. There's definitely boxers who were taller than him in the 90s. He's not taller than Riddick Bowe. That means, by your logic, Riddick Bowe automatically beats Luis Ortiz. By your logic, Holyfield, who was a small heavyweight, was able to beat Bowe once. Okay? So it's not, like, you got to stop it. Size alone is not going to win fights.
Word. Absolutely. John Daly, you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of athleticism, if anyone wants to go and look at a 50s athletic fighter, they should go and look at Cleveland Williams. Ken Norton's athleticism is beyond question.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to suggest that Ken Norton was not an athletic individual, that's just ludicrous. And the point about the height and the reach. In terms of reach, Tyson Fury is one of the fighters with the biggest reach. But the other fighters with similar reach are Valuev and Primo Canero, two of the worst heavyweight champions in history. So it can be an advantage, but it's only if you've got the skill to use it. And also, if someone can get inside you, you need inside fighting skills for that occasion, where arguably having
Yes.
long arms can be a problem, not an advantage.
Yes, yes, yes. The floor is open. The floor is open. Coming close to the end of the show. Yeah. Well, has anybody got anything before the final words? Has anybody got anything they want to put into this piece?
Yes.
I have one more thing.
Oh,
Go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, because I got to jump off. So this is going to be my final word. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Much respect to Beebs, the ringside reporter. Enough respect to everybody, the fight doctor, everybody that's on the live. Raph, thank you. Mr. Daly, always a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Much respect. Red, of course, keep doing your hard work, my brother. And I just want to say this. Look, whether you like Deontay Wilder or not, whether you did, let me just reiterate that. Whether you did, you have to understand that, okay, you can't go out and say that these straps mean nothing because he lost it, but yet they meant something. You can't go out and say that Luis Ortiz was nobody, but now since he's on his resume, he's somebody. And then with this Mike Tyson versus Wilder, Mike Tyson versus Ortiz, who's next? Mike Tyson versus Zen-in-Law? I mean, this has to be put to a rest. If you want to have fantasy fights, discussions, that's not a problem. But now when you go out here and you say that it's gospel, it's fact, it's actual doctrine, like that's wrong, because you're always going to come up short like a midget in an orgy. And that's a fact. So I think that a lot of research and a lot of respect needs to be given to guys like ourselves who are out here, trying to tell the truth. You know what I mean? Of course, we're going to have a couple of disagreements, no doubt. We're going to have a couple of debates, no doubt. But we all know that we cannot state our opinion as fact without doing the research and actually adding that fact into our opinion, henceforth making it a fact. We cannot just go out, emotionally. And a lot of guys have been doing this emotionally. You see how Beebs explains himself. You see how Mr. Daly does. You see how Red Glove does. You see how Raph does. And everybody else that takes the time out to listen and then rebut. This is what we need to do as well. Before I go, troublemakers that come on lives, guys that we must ban these guys. We must block them because we are cleaning out the community. We're doing a good job. And if we let these guys go forward, what's going to happen is we're going to have another LDBC type, but a new prototype, and it's going to get even worse. It's going to be about trolls, and we must stop it now. So if you know these trolls and you're cool with them, but they're shitting on guys, you have to talk to them. And if they persist, then cut them off. It's healthy for the community. God bless you guys. Thank you so much, man. God bless. Stay vigilant. Peace, fellas.
Much appreciation goes out to the Boxing Jedi for jumping on. Okay. And I think, first of all, Scott, a great contributor to Raphael Dawkins Cardback Radio, contributing once again. Much appreciated, Scott. Much appreciated. It's nice to get the appreciation. So what did the fight doctor say? What did the fight doctor say? Oh, here he is. I need to join the chat so I can explain what I'm saying. Well, yeah, I've put the link in the chat multiple times. Where are we? I think I'll put it in again just there. I'll put it in right.
You must have missed it.
Yeah. It's in there multiple times. I'll just put it in again. And I think ultimately we're going to give Fight Doctor a chance to come in at the end of the show, which is now. Sun shining, got to get out there, got to get that sun on the skin again, multiple times a day.
Can I also add my thing real quick?
Of course.
It won't take long.
No. Say.
The whole reason why I just can't subscribe to this era is better just because of PEDs and technology and all that. The reason why I can't subscribe to that is with Deontay Wilder having terrible footwork like he does, and nobody can convince me otherwise. I mean, if this guy's slipping on his own feet, okay, like I see there's a lot of slips in his fights. Like, how many times have you seen him go down, get back up, and the ref is like, nope, that's not a knockdown? He's always slipping. And a lot of times it's not from a punch or anything like that. He's slipping on his own feet, on his own 2 feet. You can't tell me that this era is better when you got a guy who can't even, who could barely walk in the ring, has terrible footwork, can reign as a champion for 5 years, have like 11 defenses. Like, you're not going to convince me that makes this era better than past eras.
Yeah. It's not all about. Were you just talking about size?
Yeah, earlier I did. I talked about how, there's too many examples of the smaller guy beating bigger guys.
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
it's
what was your key point just then? Sorry, I was looking at the chat. What was your key?
Just now?
Yeah.
That I can't subscribe to this era being better than past eras when you have a guy like Deontay Wilder who has terrible footwork. He's slipping and falling over himself against mediocre competition like Spilka. But yeah, he was able to reign for 5 years and get like 11 defenses or something like that. You can't convince me. You can't convince me that a guy like that is doing what he did in this era, that this era is better than previous eras. That you're not going to convince me of that.
I'm not going to convince you of that. But Smarty Jones has just come in and contradicted you, Red Glove Militant. Smarty Jones says Luis Ortiz would kill all the greats of the
Well, first off, this is all opinionative. So the first thing you should say is, I believe Luis Ortiz would be, because at the end of the day, I can't even say for a fact. I'm just taking, empirical data and applying it and coming to a hypothesis. Everything I'm saying is just a hypothesis. You want to believe that Luis Ortiz is the second coming of Jesus Christ, you can go ahead and believe that. I'm going to take a look at his resume, take a look at his accomplishments, and I'm sorry, Bryant Jennings does not match up with Trevor Berbick. He doesn't match up with Larry Holmes. He doesn't match up with Holyfield. He doesn't match up with Riddick Bowe. He doesn't match up with Lennox Lewis. I can keep going. He doesn't match up with any of these guys. So you're not gonna convince me that he kills all the greats from the past because he can beat Jennings.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, you have to apply logic at some point.
Luis Ortiz would kill all the OMG. I think we're coming up to, we gave Fight Doctor the chance.
He's had an opportunity, but I think Smarty Jones is a very funny man. I like sarcasm. I think in Birmingham in the UK, it's something we appreciate a lot. And he's a very sarcastic individual. I can't believe that a man with an IQ over 75 would actually be making that as a serious statement. So, yeah,
absolutely. It's a great sarcasm, but you don't know. You might mean it from the heart. It might be coming from the heart. I don't know. Either way, it is absolutely hilarious. Michael J. White says, anyway. Sorry?
He's not the Fight Doctor. He's somebody else.
Anyway, why do I keep getting called the Fight Doctor? Lol, it's a good name. No, he's not saying it's not him. I'm pretty sure it's him. I'm pretty damn sure that when he was in the chat yesterday, he was typing as Michael J. White, and he came in as Michael J. White. I'm pretty sure. Did he not? Did he come in yesterday? He did come in yesterday. It's easy to find out. I can simply go back to yesterday's show, which I'm doing right now. Your channel. Where's the show? That's today's show. The Fight Doctor versus Raphael Dawkins. Let's kill the volume on that. Let's go back to when he came in to the chat. Where is he? I just want to find out this. Oh, he's written, his name was there as the Fight Doctor yesterday. Michael, but was he not? Did he just type that in when he came in? T. White? Oh, no. Hey, maybe it's not him. Is it not him? Am I getting him mixed up with somebody else? It might not be him. It says T. White. His name is Michael J. White. Okay. Damn, I thought we were talking to Let me cut that. Let me shut that down. It may be a case of mistaken identity. Michael J. White might not be T. White. So categorically, are you or are you? Oh, you just said it already. Preempted me. I am not the fight doctor. Okay. So Michael T. White. T. White, sorry. T. White 0786 is the fight doctor. Michael J. White is not the fight doctor. Damn. Okay, so our mistake. I thought the fight doctor was in the building. We had an imposter. I'm just joking, Michael J. White. I'm just joking. Georgie Porgy, we're coming to the end of the show. I'm going to give the guys their final outro in a second after I just get through some of these. Georgie Porgy up in the building. Good to have you. Ringside reporter up in here. I could carry Wilder's jockstrap, but I don't want to. Yeah, he could kill them if he had a gun. And that's a big if. Comedy Gold. Wilder has the footwork of Ali. I think Smarty Jones is making sure we know that he was being sarcastic. Wilder has the footwork of Ali, the chin of Marciano, the power of Foreman, and the finesse of Sugar Ray Leonard. What a combination that would be at heavyweight. He is simply the greatest. I am your king. I am your king.
Wilder does not have the footwork of Ali.
You think?
That is, he does not. That I know a lot of this stuff is opinionative, but I'm gonna go ahead and put myself out there. That is
hard on that one.
That is objectively fact. He does not have the footwork of Ali. Yeah. Like, you need to go back and look at how Ali moved, and then you need to take a look at Wilder. It could be the Spilka fight, it could be Duopa, it could be Areola. You could pick any of the fights. There is a distinct difference. And if you are still saying that he has the footwork of Ali after that, you're either blind or disingenuous.
Okay, so we've come to the end of the show. So what, Smarty Jones, tell me about this thing. You said Barbershop had Bill Haney on the show. You got any more revelations? Is there something I should know? Do I have to go and pay him a visit? Do I have to go? You want to go and pay him a visit? I am not the fight doctor. Yeah, I think I believe you. Got the names mixed up. What is he saying? Wilder has the footwork. I'm gonna give Smarty Jones the opportunity to share his observations of what went down over there. Sounds like I'm gonna have to go check it out when I get back in later on. Sun is blazing down. Got to get out in it. So, yeah, and a big thank you to Scott70 for the donation. It's much appreciated. It's much appreciated. You know, this shizzle takes time out of one's day, but in the COVID era, you know, got to keep you guys entertained, and I hope you are entertained. Well, I got the newborn. I got the footwork of a newborn calf. Okay, so we've come to the end of the show. It was an impromptu thing. I just thought, you know, I wanted to just, you know, I'm an analytical kind of guy. I just wanted to dissect it even further, make sure we got in all the little nooks and crannies. And thanks very much to John Daly. Contacted him earlier on, said, John, you want to jump on with me later? I want to chop it up. Can't chop it up by myself. And thank you very much to the Boxing Jedi. He dropped in. And then, of course, much thanks goes out to the Red Glove Militant. He dropped in also. So we were able to get a nice conversation going, multiple points of view, multiple takes. And so, if you give your final words, Red Glove Militant, that would be much appreciated. And thanks for jumping on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, this is good boxing conversation. I really think that there is a lot of, misconception. Like, I don't know if guys just didn't really pay attention to past eras and or even really paying attention to this era. But I think you should definitely be open minded, like I was. I even said, I can't say definitively that I know for a fact that these guys today can't beat those guys back then. However, if we take a look at what we have, we have plenty of. It's not like we're talking about guys from the late 1800s where we don't have video. We have plenty to go off of in terms of footage. We have plenty to go off of in terms of information on these guys, especially when you're talking about the 80s and 90s. It's not like it's hard to find information on these guys.
Yeah.
You just have to look at the facts. Take out the fact that you like these guys. I love Anthony Joshua. He's my favorite heavyweight. However, if I'm being honest, I don't think he beats Mike Tyson. Just because he's bigger than Mike Tyson doesn't mean he beats him.
Exactly.
If that was the case, he would have beaten Ruiz both times.
Yeah.
And we all know he didn't. So it's you have to try to look at this as objectively as possible. If you don't, then what ends up happening is at some point you're going to look like a fool in a boxing conversation. I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm a student of the game.
Yeah.
If I try my best not to talk on situations that I'm not aware of, and I'm always willing to listen to those who do know about those. So that being said, everybody hit that like button. Everybody subscribe if you haven't. Everybody follow Raph, not only on here, but on social media. He has Twitter, and if you have the means, please support him financially. If you don't, then at least support him in all the other ways that I just mentioned. Peace.
100%. And that was the Red Glove Militant. Thanks for popping on. And likewise, he's got his own channel. He's got social media. He's a friend of the channel. So much appreciation goes out to the Red Gloved Militant. And then there were two. John D. Lee. The final words, my friend. Thanks for jumping on. Giving.
That's all right. I've enjoyed myself.
Oh, well, that's even better. That's even better. Yeah.
And despite Michael J. White not being the fight doctor, I think he made a valuable contribution. So it was good to have someone giving the other point of view.
He did.
So thanks to him. Yeah, it's been fun, Raph.
It has.
Looking forward to tomorrow.
Looking forward to tomorrow's show. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. For those who don't know, on Fridays now we have a series where we look at a classic fight, or if it's a short fight, we might look at two classic fights, two short classic fights. If it's a long fight, then it's just the one. But we talk about the fight. We put it in a historical perspective. We put it in the perspective of the game. And then we actually sit down and we show the fight and we talk about the fight. What more could a boxing fan ask for on a Friday night? If you don't want to watch it on Friday night, make sure you clicks. What did you do? You just watch it another night. It's still there. It doesn't disappear. So yeah, I'll be doing that tomorrow with John. Once again, thank you to John for jumping on. We could get the conversation going, and we could entertain fans on the COVID lockdown. But even if there wasn't a COVID lockdown, we'd still be doing the same. What day is today? Thursday? Yeah, we'd probably still be doing the same because I'll be introducing some daytime shows. I've already introduced daytime shows, but I'll be continuing with more daytime shows. Thank you to John Daly for jumping on, and I will see John Daly tomorrow, as will you. And then there was one. So what can I say? It was great. It's great. Talking to the fight doctor is very interesting, and it spawned much debate around the interwebs. So it was only right that I came back yesterday daytime to talk about it some more. and play you the debate. And then we got into another debate and further analysis. And it was only right that we put a cap on it, so to speak, today, so that we covered anything. We made sure that we covered all the relevant angles that we could establish. And I'm confident that we've done so today. So thank you to everybody for stopping by. Thank you to everybody who, if you haven't seen the Rick Glazer Q&A yesterday, for sure, put that on your list of things to do. It was a good one. And Monday, what happened on Monday? What happened on Monday? Is my memory failing me? What is going on? On Monday, we did, what was the show on Monday? What was the live show on Monday? I can't remember. I'm looking back now. Boxing Talk with Rafi Wilder. I felt like a zombie. So that's plenty of stuff, plenty of footage, plenty of hours of entertainment. And so thank you to the panel, John Daly, the Boxing Jedi, Red Gloved Militant. And of course, thank you to the listeners, the participators. Thank you for Michael J. White standing in for the fight doctor. We thought it was him. Okay, so we come to the end of the show. I got to get out in the sun now. While it's here, got to make the most of it. And you know what we do. You know how we do. You know how we close this baby out. You know how we close it out. And I'm looking for, here I am, looking for the relevant icon. Searching for the relevant icon. I think I have detected it. So it's the Scott. It's the Georgie Porgy. It's the Smarty Jones. And it's the Michael J. White, who we thought was the fight doctor. It's the BH. It's the DJ Georgie Porgy. It's the Beeb of Ringside Reporter. And who else we got? Of course, it's the Scott. And many, 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 many more. Most of all, it's the Boxing Talk with Rafi. Plenty of footage, plenty of entertainment, plenty of hours of boxing talk and entertainment. And what's left for me to say is look out for the videos, look out for the live shows. Have a great day and blessed.